Now, the second ones that are listed are the Ishmaelites. Now, I personally believe that these are, for the most part, Egyptians, though there is some debate as to whether they are primarily Arab or Egyptian or both. Now, I'm going to make a delineation between Arab and Egyptian because in the true sense, ancient Egyptians were not really known as Arabs. Now, the way I'm going to use to illustrate this is I'm going to use your dogs. I don't have any dogs, so I'm going to use your dogs, okay? You've got, mutts that are a mixed breed of many different breeds of dogs, okay? You have a German Shepherd or a, pit bull, or I hope you don't have a pit bull, but or a Doberman Pinscher, or I'm picking mean dogs, I realize, but these are purebred, okay? They're not mixed breeds or mutts. See, that's what Egyptians were and really to this day still are. Have you ever wondered who all the ites are? I mean, in the Bible, you read about the Ammonites, the Hittites, the Jebusites, the flashlights, the termites, all these ites, right? You want to know who they are. Well, for the most part, an Arab is a mutt. I just called myself a mutt, actually. And what they are is a mixed breed of all of these different people groups that are known today as being from the region we call today the Middle East. So the Ishmaelites were descendants of Ishmael. Well, of course, who was Ishmael? He was the son from Hagar, which we'll talk about in a moment, that was born to Abraham as the father, the birth father, and of course Sarah, the surrogate. So this is likely Egyptians in the sense that they are purebred, purely Egyptians more than Arabs. And some have suggested that they're Arabs because they eventually settled in Arabia, which is known today as modern-day Saudi Arabia. So you've got many of the Ishmaelites there in Saudi Arabia. Now, oh boy, I wish we had 3 hours to do this, but let me see if I can just do a quick. I completely ran out of time on first service, but let me see if I can say it this way. When you get into Saudi Arabia, you have the Saudi family. It could have been the Wahhabi family, and if it were given to the Wahhabi family, which are at odds and enmity against the Saudi family, it would have been called Wahhabi Arabia. Now, why do I mention that? Because Osama bin Laden is a Wahhabi, which explains a lot about what's going on there in the Middle East and why a lot of those terrorists on 9/11 came from Saudi Arabia. They are a Wahhabi sect of Arabs that represent a melting pot of the descendants of Ishmael. See, there's still a war going on, not just between the descendants of Ishmael and Isaac, but also from Esau and Jacob. The third one that's listed here are the Moabites. And they're also considered to be modern-day Jordanians, as they are primarily located on the Jordanian side of the Dead Sea. Then you get the Hagrites. They are, again, the descendants of Hagar. Hagrites. So again, we have a mention of the Egyptians, and it makes them akin to the Ishmaelites. The next one, the fifth one, is Gebal. This is known today as the modern-day Lebanese people. Now, though I'm not Lebanese by blood, I'm Lebanese by birth. Born in Beirut, Lebanon, to an Egyptian father and a so-called Palestinian mother, really an Edomite mother. The sixth one, the Ammonites, they're considered also to be modern-day Jordanians, but also a melting pot with what we would call modern-day Syrians. The seventh one is the Amalekites, and they're considered to be also modern-day Syrians, a melting pot of Egyptians, and even Saudi Arabians. So, for purpose of our understanding, you would just consider these people as another ite to be Arab people. Now, this is the interesting one, the Philistines. This is the modern-day equivalent of the Palestinians who live in the modern-day area we know as Gaza, which is ancient southwest Canaan. You have to understand that a Philistine is a transliteration of a Palestinian. Palestinian Philistine. Now, I'm going to say this because I know some of you already know this, but there really is not such a thing as a Philistine or a modern-day Palestinian. In fact, before Israel returned as a nation in 1948, they were living in the land, and they were the ones that were called Palestinians. So they were actually Jews called Palestinians. I suggest to you that the term Palestinian was hijacked, probably shouldn't use that word, but oh well, was hijacked by the Arab people to further their cause, you see. So really, there's no such thing as a Palestinian people. There's no such thing as an ancient Philistine people that are entitled to that land. See, that land was named Palestine after Rome, true to form, renamed Israel after the arch enemy of the nation that they just conquered, which was what they would do. So at first they named it Ariella Capitolina. That didn't take, as you can understand. And so they renamed it Philistia, which is where we get Philistine or Palestine, because the Philistines were the arch enemies of the Israelites. So that has carried over all the way through to the last century, and that's why it's been called Palestine, and that's why they have now this Palestinian cause, which is a deception, by the way. But be that as it may, let me also say that Yasser Arafat, the founder of the Palestinian Liberation Terrorist Organization, was not a Palestinian. He was an Egyptian. He was an Arab. So you don't really have a modern-day equivalent of Philistines, but these Arabs who call themselves Palestinians are mentioned here in this prophetic psalm, in Psalm 83, the 9th one. Tyre. This is a city in South Lebanon, and again we have a mention of the modern-day Lebanese people. The last one, most interesting, the Assyrians, not Syria, the Assyrians, and they're believed to be modern-day Iraq. Now, if this is true, and I believe it is, then it has profound implications. Here's what I'm thinking. It's plausible that Psalm 83 will find its fulfillment before Isaiah 17, which finds its fulfillment before Ezekiel 38. There you go. Let's just close in prayer. That's our prophecy update for the day. I'm keenly aware that I've probably jammed some gears, but at the risk of an oversimplification, I'm going to try to tie it together this way. The nations here that we just looked at in Psalm 83 will be eliminated from the geopolitical landscape first, explaining their absence from Ezekiel's prophecy. Because every single one of these are not listed in Ezekiel 38. You don't find Iraq. You don't find Syria, which, by the way, Isaiah 17:1 is a prophecy about the destruction of Damascus, Syria, becoming a ruinous heap. In other words, something has to happen with Iraq, with Egypt, with Syria, with Lebanon, with Jordan, because every single one of them, without exception, is conspicuously absent from the Ezekiel 38 prophecy, which establishes a very plausible timeline, which I believe is now getting to the place where we're seeing prophecy fulfilled right before our very eyes. Every nation that's listed in this prophecy is even now posturing themselves exactly as God said they would. And this is one reason that I believe that we are the generation that will be alive at the time of the rapture of the church of Jesus Christ. It could happen at any time. There's no prophecy that has yet to be fulfilled before the rapture of the church of Jesus Christ. Psalm 83 doesn't have to be fulfilled before the rapture of the church of Jesus Christ, but it's very close. Now, why do I say that? Why am I so certain? Why am I so dogmatic that we're this last, final, chosen generation? Well, first of all, these prophecies are time sensitive and they're geography specific. In other words, these nations weren't in position 100 years ago. Some not even 50 years ago. Let me take it a step further. not